Hello, this is Lydia Rackham, and I am walking through the Bible, doing, prayers, studying prayers with all of you. I already kind of did a prayer study on this on my own, and now I am supposed to be sharing what I found and what I learned on here. So we've gone through so far. We've gone through we've gone through quite a bit of Abraham, and now we are on to Isaac. So Isaac finally was born. Yay! Sarah waited and waited and waited and waited and waited and waited and waited. I mean, I feel even more, for her than for Abraham, because I know she really, 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 really wanted a baby, like for her whole life. And, to have all the other women around her be having babies, and then she didn't, and they probably had 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 kids, and she didn't have any. And then she got old. And at that time, not having babies was disgraceful. You felt like God didn't love you if you didn't have any kids. So now finally the promise has come. Her son was born, and she named him Laughter. And she's gotten to raise him this whole time. But then she died. She died before Isaac got married. So it's up to Abraham to try to figure out who Isaac should marry. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Fiddler on the Roof, but it's all, I don't know where that started in Jewishness, that that you can't pick your own wife. Because you don't see really anybody picking wives for other people earlier than this. They seem to pick their own wives. Everybody seemed to pick their own wives. These men, but only Adam didn't, obviously. he had the perfect woman made for him. But all the other guys were just like, I pick my own wife. There probably weren't a lot of choices at first, just your sisters. But then as there were lots of more people, then you could go pick. And I think this is the first instance where they explicitly say, go find a wife for someone else. And he isn't going to even know this person who you are picking. Isaac apparently didn't have a problem with this. But so we'll read it. We'll read the big time pressure that Abraham put on his servant. So Sarah died, and Abraham was now, this is Genesis 24. Abraham was now old and well advanced in years, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. He said to the chief servant in his household, the one in charge of all that he had, put your hand under my thigh. I want you to swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you will not get a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I am living, but will go to my country and my own relatives and get a wife for my son Isaac. The servant asked him, what if the woman is unwilling to come back with me to this land? Shall I then take your son back to the country you came from? Make sure you do not take my son back there. Abraham said, the Lord, the God of heaven, who brought me out of my father's household and my native land, and who spoke to me and promised me on oath, saying, to your offspring I will give this land, he will send his angel before you, so that you can get a wife for my son from there. If the woman is unwilling to come back with you, then you will be released from this oath of mine. Only do not take my son back there. So the servant put his hand under the thigh of his master Abraham and swore an oath to him concerning this matter. Then the servants took 10 of his master's camels and left, taking with him all kinds of good things from his master. He set out for Aram Naharaim, and made his way to the town of Nahor. And he had the camels kneel down near the well outside the town. It was toward evening, the time the women go out to draw water. Then he prayed, O Lord, God of my master Abraham, give me success today and show kindness to my master Abraham. See, I am standing beside this spring, and the daughters of the townspeople are coming out to draw water. May it be that when I say to a girl, please let down your jar that I may have a drink, and she says, drink, and I will water your camels too, let her be the one that you have chosen for your servant Isaac. By this I will know that you have shown kindness to my master. Before he had finished praying, see, that's the cool part, Rebekah came out with her jar on her shoulder. She was the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, who was the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor. The girl was very beautiful, a virgin. No man had ever lain with her. That's what virgin means. She went down to the spring, filled her jar, and came up again. He wanted to be really sure that you know what that means. The servant hurried to meet her and said, please give me a little water from your jar. Drink, my lord, she said, and quickly lowered the jar to her hands and gave him a drink. After she had given him a drink, she said, I'll draw water for your camels too, until they have finished drinking. So she quickly emptied her jar into the trough, ran back to the well to draw more water, and drew enough for all his camels. Without saying a word, the man watched her closely to learn whether or not the Lord had made the journey successful. When the camels had finished drinking, the man took out a gold nose ring weighing a beka and 2 gold bracelets weighing 10 shekels. Then he asked, whose daughter are you? Please tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night? She answered him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son that Milcah bore to Nahor. And she added, we have plenty of straw and fodder, as well as room for you to spend the night. Then the man bowed down and worshipped the Lord, saying, praise be to the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not abandoned his kindness and faithfulness to my master. As for me, the Lord has led me on the journey to the house of my master's relatives. Okay, end of it. She does, they ask if she wants to go or not, and she says she will. And she goes back with him and marries Isaac, and he loves her. And it says he was comforted after the death of his mother. So I think there's a couple things that we can learn from this. Firstly, is the prayer of the servant. So the thing that a lot of people worry about is, how do I know that what I'm praying for is in God's will? Because is there any point in praying for something that's not in God's will? And so I'm praying for something, but I don't know if it's his will. Well, the thing about prayer is, if it's about relationship, if you have a relationship with God, if his spirit fills you and you are connecting with him every day and reading his word and praying and connecting with him and listening to him, there's no possible way for the thing that you're praying for, the thing for you to be desiring, is going to be against his will. That's not possible, because you are one with him. He is in you. You are with him. And his wanting is going to be your wanting, and vice versa. It's not going to be, you're not going to be in conflict. Now, if you never talk to him and you never read your Bible and never, and you don't talk, and then you just decide that you want something and then you pray for it, well, who knows what that's going to be? Sometimes that's right and sometimes it's not. But you can't know, because you don't have a relationship with the one you're asking. But if you're in with him, then you don't need to worry about whether or not it's his will, because it is, because you're with him You're talking to him. You're in communion with his spirit. So don't keep second guessing things over and over and over and over, because there's no point in that. So what I'm saying about this servant is the servant was in close relationship with Abraham, who's in close relationship with God. And Abraham's been tuned into God, and they're friends, they talk. And so Abraham knows what God's will is because he's been talking to him. So he is sending the servant on an errand that he knows will be successful, because and also because Abraham is not, he desires that Isaac will not marry one of these pagan women that are around. He desires that. Oh, and especially, and his wife also, Sarah, wouldn't have wanted him to be marrying these pagans. So Abraham's desires were naturally the same as God's. And so he's like, send, but do not take Isaac out of the promised land. Don't take him back there. Don't go back. It's like the same as saying, don't go back to Egypt. Don't go back to Egypt. Even though we haven't been to Egypt yet, it's that same concept. Don't go back there. You're in the promised land. Stay and bring someone else into the promised land. So, but the servant, of course, he don't know. So he makes a prayer to ask for a sign. And I guess there are some teachers that say, don't ask God for a sign. I haven't found that in the Bible. I have found people asking God for a sign a lot, but I haven't found, the only thing was Jesus saying, don't put the Lord your God to the test. But I think that means don't test his patience by being naughty, or don't test to see how much he loves you in that way. Like, if you really love me, like a manipulative woman, if you really loved me, like Delilah, if you really loved me, you would tell me the secret of your strength. That kind of attitude. Not, can you show me what's going on here? Or can you confirm something for me? Because that's what this servant is asking. That is literally what the servant is asking. Show me which one. And I'm going to pick the terms. If she does this and this, then she's the one. Well, that just shows you how strategic God is. Because who do you suppose put the idea in his head of what kind of person Rebecca was and what she would offer to do? Gave him that idea. The person who knows Rebecca, the person who knows what Rebecca is going to do or what she's likely to do. He's not making her do it, but he knows her. So he knows what she's going to do. So I don't think there's anything wrong with asking God to confirm for you what's going on, any more than it is wrong for you to call up a friend and say, hey, did I hear you right? The get together is on Saturday at 7? Or did you tell me that? I can't remember if you I don't think you told me. You said it was on Saturday, but you didn't say what time. So, hey, if you never talked to that person, you wouldn't be invited to the get together anyway. Secondly, you might be scared to ask them for more details. But notice, like, we already talked about Mary, and she wasn't scared to ask the angel for some more details. How exactly is this going to work? Not disbelief, but like, can I have a little bit more detail? Can you tell me some more? So this servant asks for more details. like not more details, more some confirmation. Give me the right girl right off the bat. I don't want to mess around. I don't want to interview a bunch of girls. I want the right one to come to me, and I want to know that it's from you, not me picking out the best girl, but this strange thing that I want her to be doing, watering me and my camels. So God was in the situation already, but he allowed that servant to pray, and then before he was even done praying, here came Rebecca. So what did God have to set in place for that prayer to be answered? He was ahead of it. Obviously, Rebecca had to be born. She had to be raised. She had to, and then all the way down to the moment, the minute, the second, tick, 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 that he got there, he made his prayer, here she came. Like, just the other day, I'm not going to give you the details, but this was yesterday, actually. One of the ways that God has decided to speak to me is through numbers in the Strong's Concordance, and like in a photograph. And I take a picture, and then I look at what time. This is just a recent development. It's not my idea. It was just, anyway. So I pray while I'm either riding my bike or I'm walking. So yesterday I was riding my bike and I was praying. There's a particular thing that I'm praying about. And so I'm riding my bike and praying. And then there's a road by a park that's by some apartments and is heading towards where I'm going. And there was a little turtle that was heading across the road. Well, I knew he had the potential to get squished. So I stopped my bike, and then I picked him up and I took him over to the side, and then I got back on my bike and then I headed to where I was going. So I headed there, and what I saw gave me a little disappointment. I'm not going to go into it yet. I will someday. But I stopped my bike, and I did have a little disappointment as I saw what I saw. But I took a picture. Took a picture of what I saw. And then this is the first time this happened. So then I looked up the number of the timestamp in Strong's Concordance. And what it said there was exactly what had been said to me a few nights before in regards to a particular scripture. It was exactly that. At an exact time, it was 12:31. And 12:31. And I just stood there kind of like, what had to transpire in order to get me right there at exactly 12:31, take the picture and then look up? And it was exactly what he had said to me a few days ago in regards to this very particular thing that is particularly hooked up into the breakthrough, the thing that I'm waiting for. And then I remembered the turtle. If that turtle hadn't been there and I hadn't stopped my bike and I had been moving, I would have been there. I would have arrived at the place to take the picture like a minute or two earlier, and it wouldn't have been the same message that I got. But instead, the turtle came. I went. I took the picture within 60 seconds there. That's all I had in order to get that message. So how perfectly does he know us? Because some people would not have done a thing about that turtle. They would have just kept going. But God knew Allison is going to stop and get this turtle and move him off to the side. Not to mention, how long was the stoplight that I had to stop at? One stoplight. How fast was I going? I mean, it's crazy. It kind of blows my mind. Like, how the perfection of the timing. And actually, that's what he told me. When I stood there and looked at that, he said, trust my timing. He's like, I know what it looks like, but trust my timing. And that's exactly, I mean, it's sort of crazy that I'm now doing this about Rebecca. Exactly. Because, like, okay, how long did it take her to put on her sandals? How long did it take her to put on her shawl? You know, she's like, I'm going out to get water, you know, okay, you know, where's the thing? Okay, you know, and then like how fast does she walk up there? And not just that, but I don't know. You might have seen it more recently in the movie, the new live action Cinderella, but it's a very old fairy tale trope. And there's also another old fairy tale called Toads and Diamonds. And in the new Cinderella, you know, she's just had her dress torn and she's been abandoned and she can't go to the ball and she's crying. And then this old haggard woman asks for a cup of milk or something. You know, she needs something. And Cinderella immediately says, oh, yes, of course. And she gets her a bowl of milk. And the fairy godmother, who that's what it is, you know, she's like, oh, it's nothing, but kindness makes it everything. In contrast, like in Beauty and the Beast, the haggard old woman comes, asks for something, and he flings her out into the, well, obviously Cinderella then is rewarded because her heart is good. She is rewarded with everything she's ever dreamed of. In Beauty and the Beast, because he's cruel, it's an enchantress and she curses him to be a beast until he learns his lesson. Well, in Toads and Diamonds, it's I think actually this is close to, I mean, it's got to be maybe inspired by this story of Rebecca because it's a stepdaughter. It's always these evil stepmothers and stepsisters. But the youngest daughter, who's the kind one, she gets sent to the well to get water. And there she sees an old woman who asks for water. And this girl falls all over herself, really, to take care of this old beggar woman, who turns out to be an enchantress who then puts a spell on this girl that whenever she speaks, roses and diamonds fall out of her mouth. So of course, then she's fabulously wealthy. I think that's also a very inconvenient kind of gift, but hey, you're very wealthy, you're very rich if diamonds fall out of your mouth. And I think obviously it's symbolic of your words, like what is coming out of your mouth, beauty and things of value or not. See, and then she comes home and this is what's happening. And the stepmother is like, oh, I want this to happen to my daughters too. So she instructs her one of her daughters to go and be nice to the old beggar woman. But when she goes to the well, the person there is a very fine noble woman who's just dressed to the nines and very, very austere looking. And she says to the stepsister, the mean stepsister, could you get me a drink? And the stepsister is like, you get it yourself or have your servants get it for you. What do you think I am? Well, that was also the enchantress. And so she says, because you answered me that way, when you speak, toads and snakes are going to come out of your mouth. And so she goes screaming home with toads and snakes spewing out of her mouth, because that's what she's like. It's what is inside of you is coming out. So if you think about Rebecca, how she is met and comes out at that crucial moment at the well. Because she didn't know who this man was. She could have said, well, you're a man, you get the water for yourself. Why am I doing this? And why am I getting all this water but she didn't even, she went over and above because she's a kind person. She's a kind and capable person who she would do that for anybody. She didn't know who he was, but that's how she was. She was ready. She was ready to meet the moment. Because, I mean, I think it says, I'm not sure where it says it in the New Testament, just like, you don't know it, but you've entertained angels. And you don't know that. You don't know who these, and that's not like you should always treat people like that they can eventually give you something. But they can. They can give you friendship in return. They can bless you in return. But you being a blessing should be about what's inside of you. Are roses and diamonds coming out, or snakes and toads? And maybe she could have been tired. It's the end of the day. She's worked hard all day long. Those women worked so hard all day long, making bread and cleaning and just surviving. Just surviving was hard. And you think those water things are light? They are not, especially when they're full. And then she was getting water for the camels and for him and for her own household. So, I mean, if you've seen The Chosen and you watch the woman at the well who was hauling that thing, it's heavy, it's hard work. But because of her good attitude and her readiness to be good, she was met with her destiny. Her husband, she got to be the next in line of the promise. I mean, she is an ancestor of Jesus. I mean, that is so cool. And it was because she was on time, she was attentive, and she was kind and ready and helpful. And she couldn't just become that because she knew what was coming. She didn't know when it was coming. And that's another interesting thing, that I'm just kind of amazed that this is the thing for today. Because the thing that I got from God today, the two words that I got today, the first one was watchful, awake, like staying awake, like you're awake in the watch. Because, and the scripture that went with that was Jesus talking about how if the man knew when his house was going to be robbed, he would have stayed awake so that his house wouldn't be robbed, like the thief coming in the night. And so it's like, stay awake. And then, or like, like you're like in Gethsemane. And then the next word that I got was like in a corner or like secret place. And it's like where you find that in the New Testament is when Jesus was saying, don't be like the hypocrites who pray on a street corner. Instead, go in your room and shut the door and pray. So basically the word that I was given today was watch and pray. And where is that from? That's from Jesus saying that in the Garden of Gethsemane. Watch and pray so you don't fall into temptation. So it's like a constant state of being. Watch and pray, watch and pray, watch and pray. Be ready at any time. Kind of have this readiness attitude so that God can use you to answer a prayer. It all lines up like that. If you stay in alignment, if you stay in attunement with God, then your prayers will be answered because you'll be right there with him. He will be talking to you. You can ask him for things. You can ask him for confirmation because it's a give and take. It's not something you should be scared of. Like, oh, I better not ask God for a sign. Do it all the time. Ask him, I need this, I need this. Tell him how you're feeling. Tell him what you need. Go and then go searching, search and listen and back and forth. And you will fall into exactly where you need to be at the right time. So this is a really cool prayer. It's a really cool, pivotal prayer made by a servant who doesn't even have a name. But he knew what he was about. And he asked God, reminded him of the promise, reminded God of the promise, and said, I need your help. You do it. You confirm for me that this is the person that I am here to find. And then Rebecca had already been preparing herself. She had been watching him praying. She probably didn't even know what for, but she was ready in her heart. So, yeah, that's what I think. Watch and pray. Be bold. Talk to God all the time. Don't be afraid that what you are asking for is out of his will. If you are connected to him, it will be his will.